Welcome. My name is Mike Walsh, and welcome to the August 2015 version of Social Media Breakfast. And our feature speaker, Nate Moll, someone I've known about 5 years. He is super smart, super creative, super kind, and he's in charge of Facebook and Twitter at UW-Madison, amongst many other things he'll share. But recently, the Twitter account was ranked #1 in the country in higher ed, thanks to this amazing guy, Nate Moll.
All right, there we go. Thanks, Mike. I'm going to get into my presentation quick here. Just want to say a quick thank you to the union for hosting us. I couldn't have asked for a better spot to be speaking in. I love this place, near and dear to my heart. So, today we are going back to school. I know the semester is about 2 weeks away, but hey, gotta have a little fun, right? Now, I did promise Mike that I would keep this presentation to 140 characters. So I have but one slide for you guys. All you have to do is read. Now, I do every so often I like to add a cheesy element of humor into my speeches, because after all, we are in Wisconsin. If we're in Nebraska, it would be corny. And I don't know, those jokes would go over better with my tour groups. I did start off as a tour guide here at UW-Madison. It was a great time, and that's really where I fell in love with social media as well. As you see here, we got a little photo with former Chancellor Biddy Martin. I actually organized this photo through Twitter. It was amazing. I just tweeted at her like, "Hey Biddy, we were just hired as tour guides. We know you're leaving soon, but any chance you're available for a photo?" And she's like, "Yeah, come on up." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I just scheduled a meeting with the chancellor over Twitter." And after that, it was just like, dude, you can do so much on this. So, yeah, that's really where I got my start in higher ed, social media. I'll throw one more at you. So, how many of you are familiar with Lord of the Rings? Okay, fair number. Are you familiar with the language that they speak, Elvish? So the language, Elvish, was actually developed by a grad student at UW-Madison. Now that grad student has since left, so Elvish has left the building. Thank you. I am here till 9:30 though, so if you have any questions. But thanks again for having me to speak today. I am the social media specialist for University Communications. I have a cool team I work with. John Lucas sitting in the back. He's our director of communications. Woo. And he's the one that got our account started, so thank him for setting the foundation. We also have social media intern, Kevin. I don't think he was able to make it here today. I think he's giving a tour, following in my footsteps. And then we have a few others that manage the different social media accounts around the main university ones. So we have at UW-Madison, at UW-Madison Media, at UW-Madison Science, at WisIdea, and we also consult for Becky Blank. But it's not just us five working up on the hill. There are many others, and that we call that community UW Social. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you in the room today have some part to do with a university account? All right, look at that. Round of applause for all of you guys, really. There are roughly 750 different accounts, if you think of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube. Over 750 different accounts that these individuals are managing on a day-to-day basis. I mean, that's huge. It's a well-oiled machine, and it's really strength in numbers. We couldn't have such a strong social media presence without all of you guys working day to day, so thank you very much. It makes such a huge impact. So just a quick layout, what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to go into Trends 101, kind of go through current things that are happening, like what you should be doing in 2015. Then we're going to take a little trip to Caddy Harrington's high school and talk about the lunch table cafeteria scene and what's happening there. Also give you a little strategy guide for the quiz you're going to have later. Pay attention. And then, of course, we're going to, do the triple Lindy later. Hope you have a few back-to-school fans out there. But before we jump into all of this, I just want to clarify, the concept of social strategy is a bit broken. So you need to first define an overall brand strategy, and then identify how social can bring that to life. I just want to make that clear. So the social strategy needs to play into the overall brand strategy. But how do you ensure that your strategy is optimized for the connected world we live in? I found this cool Venn diagram. So what we want as marketers and what our customers want are two different areas, right? And that little red part in the middle, that's our job. It's the mutual satisfaction of wants, needs, desires, and it's identifying what other people want, and that's the secret to marketing success. And as many of you know, I'm a huge Apple-phile. I don't think I own a single PC device, but Steve Jobs, I'm a big fan of him. He said it the best. I mean, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. How do we know what to show them, though? You got to use social listening. It helps us understand attitudes, motivations, behaviors of our audience. I did this little project starting at the beginning of this summer. If you guys ever sit down on the terrace, just below us, those ducks are really annoying. They fly like right over your head. You're like, oh my God, it's gonna poop on me. So I wanted to turn this really negative thing into something positive. So one day, I was kind of bored, sitting on the terrace. I'm like, you know what? We're going to call them the UW Power Couple of 2015. And you know what? It took off. There were dozens and dozens and dozens of Instagrams and Twitter posts right after that, with weeks and months to follow. People hanging out with the Power Couple at the Terrace. Is awesome. I was able to turn an annoyance into a hero just by using that listening tool and seeing, what little thing can I fix. So we're going to go into a lot more of that, we're going to have some fun today. All right. So first, let's cover some current trends. What's attractive in 2015. I hope it's more than Dr. Diane Turner. She is looking quite lovely in the floral print, though. And if you guys, so for those who aren't familiar with the movie Back to School, it's on HBO right now, by the way. That is on the Terrace. They filmed a large portion of the film here. Of course, that's no longer there because they reconstructed outdoor UW. But God, I love that movie. All right, so jumping right into some current trends. Facebook. So these current trends are currently what we're doing on our accounts at UW. Native video is huge right now, so instead of linking to YouTube, you want to work with your videographers. You want to go up to them and say, hey, can I get that raw file for the student profile you just made? Yeah, of course. Here it is in a jump drive. I'll Dropbox it to you. And then you upload that directly to Facebook, so it auto-plays. And Facebook treats those a lot higher on the edge rank than they do links to YouTube, per se. Also quality photos, of course. I mean, photos, they generate 12 times more engagement than a single post, or than a single text post. Of course, you want to keep working with quality photos. And also links with short copy. Way too often I see, someone posts a link, cool. Links are also very high in EdgeRank right now. But I hate when I have to click here to read more. That's too many clicks. I'm just going to pass right over it. In 2015, currently what's trending is that links and photos will dominate when it comes to overall engagement, but photos and videos are the post types that you want to keep an eye on if you want your content to spread more widely. And some useful tools that we use, Sprout Social, of course, that's one that we subscribe to. Buffer is great, and also using likealizer.com. I like that one as well. So those are some management tools for Facebook. Going into Twitter, and if you've been following us at all, I love GIFs. We've had quite a few different battles between universities using GIFs, so it's been It's been a pleasure. But gifts are huge right now. One of my favorite kind of treasure chests of gifts is called Giphy.com. You've only heard it here. I don't publicize that anywhere. Giphy.com. That's where I get mountains and mountains of gifts. They have everything you need. And all you have to do is right-click to save it as an image, and then link it directly into your tweet, and it works perfectly. Also, rich media, of course. Instead of just a text post, if you have 23 characters left, throw a photo in there. You want to catch a person's eye if they're going through their feed. And also those business-to-business interactions. I don't want it to be boring to boring, but that, like as mentioned earlier, what we're doing with other schools, ton of fun. We kind of started that. I think John, way back in the day, started talking to Marquette University. We got the I-94 rivalry, and people just ate it up. Like never before social did we ever see like universities like Ivory Tower talking to another Ivory Tower, yet with Twitter, breaks it down to the ground level, and you're in this level playing field where, you got to go fisticuffs. So you gotta have some fun. You gotta interact in an engaging way, and especially during the Final Four this past year, we had little Twitter battles with each university that we went up against, and like Sports Illustrated, ESPN, numerous CBS Sports. They were all picking these up, and just like they couldn't get enough of it. And so that was a really fun way that we were able to leverage the Twitter community, at least during the Final Four. We're a school, like we're not pulling ads, we're not doing anything. That it was all organic engagement, and we did that just by having a little fun. So don't be afraid to do that. And then some useful tools, of course, TweetDeck. I know Don, you're a huge Hootsuite fan. Sorry, my time at the podium. Got to plug TweetDeck. And of course, Sprout Social and Buffer. Going on Instagram. One thing that we do with our Instagram account that's really cool is that we take. What we do is we take a look at the different photos that people in the community are shooting. So I'll use tools like Iconosquare and GramFeed. Those have two different purposes. So Iconosquare, you can manage it from your desktop, and you can search hashtags, you can search accounts of people, whatever you need to search, and then look for, I usually search like hashtag UW-Madison on Wisconsin, Badgers, and so forth. But I'm able to pull out cool photos that people are taking, save the photo, upload it to Instagram, and then from the UW-Madison account, but we give them credit right at the top of the comment. So it's showing the breadth of our community. Like, hey, we don't have to tell you ourselves about how good we are. We'll have our community show you how beautiful it is and what photos and things that they're finding interesting. And so searching on the hashtags on Iconosquare, and also GramFeed. GramFeed is this awesome tool I just discovered maybe about a year ago, and it's a location-based search. And so you have a search radius that you zero in on. So I usually zero in over campus, different parts of it, and I can see all photos that people have taken that are public. So what happens? Dexter, you didn't hashtag anything, man, on your Instagram post. I'm really disappointed because I can't search for that unless I'm following you. So I can use GramFeed and find that photo that Dexter took. If he has a public account. So it's a really, really useful tool, especially if you have events going. So like today, you could zero in on Memorial Union, and I could find all your public photos that you're shooting on Instagram and see this lovely presentation and all your beautiful faces. It's really cool. Those are just kind of a brief overview of like what's going on, current trends in 2015, how we're trying to effectively leverage our accounts. I can't go on without talking a bit about how we balance it all out. So, there are so many things happening on campus every single day. If you guys are familiar with UW Right Now, we ran it a couple years back, and it was a 24 hours day in the life of Badgers all around the world. And holy, John, how many different posts did we have? Thousands? Okay, yeah. it's just amazing how much is going on each and every day. I mean, we're, student population of 42,000. I think adding faculty and staff in there goes up to around 60,000. It's a small city. It's the size of Oshkosh. And it's happening right here, just on campus. We're not even talking about Badgers out in the world. So there's a lot to take in and a lot to manage, speaking for the institution. And so I like to balance it between academics and research, student life, athletics. Of course, we got football season coming up, and I think 15 days. Really excited, starting down in Texas with Alabama. And then, of course, at Potpourri, that's we like to call it inspired goofiness. It's just that thing about being a Badger that, you're digging down into your studies, but you also like to have a little fun. So we like to have a little fun on social as well. We have some awesome research going on, but it doesn't always sell that well on Twitter. I mean, it's cool research, don't get me wrong, but how am I going to get the average user to like it? So it's a broccoli post, we like to call it. You got to cover that broccoli in cheese. Got to make it palatable. So that's the approach we like to take. If we could talk about sunsets at the Terrace and Bucky and game days all day long, I totally would, because I would tell you, our likes and retweets and reach would just be astronomical. But that's not exactly advancing the university brand and its mission. We're also trying to build affinity and share many other things that are going on at the university. So you got to keep a balanced approach. I mean, all this talk about food's making me a little hungry. Let's take you into the lunchroom. Here's a little scene from Mean Girls I want to show you.
Here, this map is going to be your guide to North Shore. Now, where you sit in the cafeteria is crucial because you got everybody there. You got your freshmen, ROTC guys, preps, JV jocks.
Which one do you sit at? Which table did you sit at today? There are a lot of different tables in a high school lunchroom, and if you sit at the wrong one, you've messed up. The same thing on social. There are a lot of different circles, and there are a lot of different personalities you gotta navigate. And this is dealing with everyone from Keitha Broyles, who I think is our #1 fan on Twitter. She will respond to everything. If Keitha is listening somehow today, I love you. I think she's a mom of one of our students. And I love it. I think her daughter's handle is at Hawk Badger, so she's a Seahawks fan and a Badgers fan, and all right, Russell Wilson, I get it. She'll always say at Hawk Badger, did you see this? I'm like, yeah, Mom, I saw that. Thank you. I love it. You just see these family interactions just playing up before your eyes. Oh man, just take a step back. But there are a lot of different personalities on social media. Everything from the ultras who post 14 times a day about the food they're eating and the crack that they just stepped on the sidewalk, and that smelly person on the bus that they sat next to. And everything down to the ghosts who, it's like my mom. She has an account, and then she'll look on Twitter maybe once every 2 weeks, and then a month later she's like, oh hey, that one post about a month ago. Do you remember? No, sorry. But do you see any of these that you would try to fit in with? Which lunch table would you sit at? Kind of hard, right? There's way too many. Try these. Are these a bit easier to relate with? This is from a HubSpot post. I got to give credit to that. Of the 7 different types of personality traits that every social manager needs to have. I really like this. The way in which we interact and engage with others in real life is dependent on different factors. After all, you probably wouldn't interact with your colleagues in the office the same way that you would at the Terrace after a couple of pitchers on a Friday afternoon. Or maybe you would, I don't know. Maybe it's a really relaxed workspace. But your strategy should have the ability to speak to a diverse audience in a variety of ways in order to appeal to all of their needs. So, if you're thinking of which table to sit at, I would try to move around to all of these. That's what I try to do with our accounts. I mean, there are so many different types of students on campus. I mean, everyone from front row of Section O in Camp Randall to the ones who despise the sports programs because I'm not here, just to watch sports. I'm here to earn a degree, which is awesome. We have such a broad range of students, and that's, my target audience is undergrad students, so I need to be able to appeal to all of them. And so, I try to balance that out, again, that balanced meal approach. Got to take that broccoli, with the brownie on the side. So with these different tables, I mean, what you really want to do is surround yourself with good people. There are a lot of silos that happen in higher ed. I mean, if you have like Linda Zwicker, who is communications for School of Human Ecology, and Megan Costello, who is communications for Letters and Sciences. But if you have those two in the room, they're in two very different schools or colleges, so they're in two very different silos, but they know exactly how to relate to one another. They're awesome. I love talking with each of them. And what we do in these different schools and colleges is build up, whatever that school or college excels in. But what you got to be able to do is break that silo wall down and make it a porous barrier. I mean, because you want to surround, so at this table right here, I'm sure you guys are all experts in Miley Cyrus. So you guys are all going to be talking about Miley Cyrus. You're influencers in Miley Cyrus, all right? Get it trending right now, please. But what about if that table over there is knowledgeable in Nicki Minaj? So these two tables, are experts in their own fields, but you guys don't know anything about Nicki Minaj, and so you want to start talking to them, and you want to break down those barriers. Really weird example for female singers, but hey, it works. It's early, right? I haven't had coffee yet. So what you want to do is surround yourself with good people who are like-minded, who challenge you, and who are able to relate to you, but also again, challenge you to think outside the box, that obviously will help you to excel. Now, if you're not able to surround yourself in person, there's a great tool, Twitter lists. I think it's like one of Twitter's best kept secrets. It's very hard to access them right off of like going to twitter.com/ your handle, or like any business's handle. And what lists do is you're able to curate lists for all these different silos, essentially. So, I mean, I have lists for UW-Madison experts in the media, different schools, colleges, departments, student key players, who are the students that are producing some of the best content out there. I want to be able to see that very easily. A list for student orgs and, present and former athletes. And of course I want to see what JJ Watt's doing. He just like pushed like a Gatorade cooler, just like I don't know, he was doing something crazy on Twitter yesterday. And also higher ed social media managers. So those are influencers in higher ed social media. That's what I'm interested in. So some of you in the insurance businesses, you would want to follow people who are influential in the insurance business, and who are those that are tweeting like awesome things. Collect a list of those people, and they'll be able to see that you added them to your list, and then like, oh, maybe they're an influencer in insurance too. I'll follow them. So you're almost creating mini communities around these lists. So here's a link to all of our lists. I listed off just a couple of them, but we have plenty more. Go ahead and check them out. But what I recommend doing is going into Hootsuite or Tweetdeck, and you can import those lists into your search columns. And so, instead of just watching the home feed, oh my gosh, there's so much flying by, and it's insane. You can optimize your feed by adding these different lists and watching those instead. So you can only check Twitter maybe like once every hour if you have like 20 other things to do in your job, which I'm sure you do. Using these lists is a huge way to optimize your time. So yeah, again, I think of these lists as like an Instagram filter for Twitter. You're filtering it for different experts, different student orgs and whatnot. If you do happen to take this like no filter approach, I am afraid that you are suffering from a bad case of FOMO, and I do suffer from it, like many of you, I'm sure. But it's totally okay to let certain things slip through the cracks. I mean, I understand that in this day and age, like when I wake up, first thing I do is check my phone, and that's a surefire way of knowing that you have FOMO. But it's okay. It's okay. Use these lists in order to be able to optimize your time. And there are many other ways other than lists too. There are blogs. Mark Schaefer, Businesses Grow, one of the best blogs I follow. There are tons of podcasts out there too. Jay Baer has Social Pros. Gary Vaynerchuk, Ask Gary V. It's a really fun podcast video series to watch. Another one, Two Dudes Talking Digital. These two guys right over here, Don Stanley, Dexter Patterson, they run one. By the way, I think it's someone's birthday today. Dexter, happy birthday, man. Happy birthday. Woo. Again, like the kind of the lunch table, brain trust. So meet maybe once a month. Surround yourself with those good people. Talk about challenging things. Listen to your customers. Probably the biggest one out there. I mean, what are you trying to do? Make sales, right? Best way to do that is to listen to your customers. Know what they want to hear. And if, hey, your kid, shoot, might as well try. So there's a lists method, but there's also just straight up experimenting. Hey, just go out and do it. So you see these people talking about Meerkat. What the heck is Meerkat? Last March, that was exactly what I was thinking. Like, I kind of had that shiny object syndrome where it's like these like big guys are talking about this new Meerkat thing. All right, I'm gonna go check it out. And it's a good thing to do. I mean, shiny object syndrome is a slippery slope. I hate looking at those food carts that they list like 12 different like social channels that they're on. It's like, whoa, hey, just pick 2 or 3 and optimize, all right? But I on the other hand, I love that they're giving it a try. So that's what I did with Meerkat and Periscope. It was a fun little thing. So I think the first time I ever tried Meerkat was just like walking down the hill, and this girl looked at me. She's like, "Are you filming me?" I'm like, "Oh shoot, no. Okay, I'm sorry." A little scary. So what I recommend doing is if you want to try out some of these like new channels, by all means do. Try it out on your personal handles first. It's like 30 minutes a day, maybe, just trying it out as a user first and foremost. That's why I picked Periscope over Meerkat, because I hated the Meerkat user experience. It just didn't work very well, and so I switched over to Periscope. Excuse me. Experiment with these things and see if you, as a user, enjoy using it. If you don't, chances are that your customers and your audience don't like to use it either. So pick things that find things that you enjoy doing by experimenting. No amount of research and Mashable reading will ever provide a substitute for hands-on experience. Not everything will work out. I understand that. I encourage you to fail even harder. Failure signals a forward momentum. You just got to immerse yourself in other social spaces and try new things. Keep moving forward. There's no easier way to learn than that. What I suggest is just try it, test it out, assess it. All right, did this work for me? Did it not? Work it out and then improve. Whether it's adopting to a new platform or pushing it to the wayside, now you know. And if it looks like you take pictures with a potato, you probably want to find another colleague to rely on for your visual content. After all, you can't learn to do the triple Lindy overnight. And of course, this famous scene from Back to School, the famous triple Lindy. This was not shot in Wisconsin, by the way. But you want to be able to fill your tool belt with the sharpest tools possible. And reflecting back on your overall goals as a business and brand, and then of course find out how social can optimize them. So again, talking with people is our secret sauce. It's exactly what got us our #1 Twitter ranking in higher ed. I would say that on our accounts, we are 90% conversational and only 10% outbound. And we've kind of found that balance, maybe posting once every hour during 9 to 5, maybe one late at night when the late night library crew is out there. And then everything else, you're having fun with people, you're interacting with them. Again, using those search columns to finding conversations to join, and then commenting maybe with a GIF or a funny little joke. And then you're building that affinity. So it's a little tougher in higher ed to talk about B2B and like all these different because I don't really have a sale per se. What I think of as a sale is I'm looking for future badgers. That's a hashtag we've started for our prospective students, so I'm looking for these students who are like oh man, I can't decide between like Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And I'm like, well duh, come on. So easy. And so I'm reaching out to them, I'm trying to make that first point of contact and saying like, yo, we would love to have you here. And then maybe like a little YouTube video link of like flying over campus or something. Making that first point of contact, starting to build that affinity. And then when they get here, I feel responsible for creating their digital Wisconsin experience. So it's going back to those game days and posting like fun, memorable posts about maybe like when Melvin Gordon's ran 408 yards to break the record, or many other things, singing Varsity or building a Buttercup. Just did that on Monday, and found a video when we played Nebraska for the first time. I get goosebumps every time I hear that. And just student section singing Buttercup, no big deal, every other game day. But here's a little Buttercup to build up your Motivation Monday. And I can't tell you how many people were like, oh my God, chills, or just like the spirit was like oozing out of Tweetdeck. It was amazing. Yeah, so you got to be able to find those pride points with people. Again, another one is the Terrace, and one thing that we've done with the Terrace is Terrascope. So every Thursday, this is a new project we started this summer. Every Thursday at 6 p.m., I'll be down on the Terrace. And just sharing the sights and sounds, maybe interacting a bit, asking where people are from, like where they're watching, but then asking like, hey, what was your first memory of the Terrace? If it's the first time they're ever hearing of the Terrace, then they are seeing that and they're like, whoa, I want to go there, because they see all the comments and all the people enjoying it. And so it's been a really fun project. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a little fun where we went around talking about different things that'll be happening with Memorial Union reinvestment. So we were able to use it as an educational tool as well. I'm really looking forward to using it this school year, maybe hopping into a classroom or a discussion, and giving people all around the world the experience of being inside the classroom. I think that'll be really cool. So look for ways, if Periscope, which is of course the live streaming app, look for ways that you could use that in your business. Maybe show a little behind the scenes action, or like a tutorial, like if you're in some form of like manufacturing, like here's exactly how you make a Terrace chair. I still want that to happen, by the way. Or a little ride along with UWPD in a squad car. That'd be awesome. Another thing we do, I started with Campus Visitor Relations, is called Tour Tuesday. And so we have these tours going on. Of course, I was a former tour guide, so it's near and dear to my heart. But it's a physical experience. You have to come here to tour, and I wanted to be able to break that barrier somehow. And so what I did was called up, one of the tour guides in the office, and was like, "Yo, I want to live stream a tour." And like, no, I don't think that'll work very well. That's 100 minutes. I don't think people are going to watch that long. I'm like, all right, yeah, you're right. So what we did was we sat down, worked out, all right, so I think like 10, 15 minutes tops is what people's attention spans are on Periscope. And so what we did is broke campus up into many different little areas, and so what we do every Tuesday at noon is tour around a different area. So the first day we did Bascom Hill, Library Mall, and the Terrace, just kind of testing it out, seeing are people going to like this or not. And I got a lot of support from the WIS alumni accounts, from UW News student as well, so we were able to reach a broad range of people. I reached out to ahead of time to them, like, hey, we're doing this thing, can you help me out? I think that's really important too, even with influencers out there. So like yesterday, I tweeted at Melvin Gordon, like, hey, you know how many days until we return to the camp? And I don't think he responded, bummer. But I loved reaching out to some of our, celebrity, especially like Anders Holm from Comedy Central. He's amazing, and he was my commencement speaker, so near and dear to my heart. But he loves to play with our brand. He loves to interact with us, and what that does is gets our name out into a completely different field of people. Because they're following a comedian, Anders Holm. They're probably not following University of Wisconsin-Madison. And so what we're able to do is, by interacting with him, leverage a completely new crowd. Same with a kid by the name of Chuck. Discovered him, and he's a former student here, just graduated last May, and he had like 500,000 YouTube subscribers. Like, this kid is a celebrity, and he was kind of an endearing personality, and he's a gamer. So what he does is he films himself playing Call of Duty or a number of these other games, but he only uses throwing knives for his weapon. So his name is Straight Up Knives. I'm like, okay, cool, and. I don't know, he's just a spunky personality, and I'm like, dude, I gotta get on this somehow. And so I just started like, hey Chuck, and he'd comment something about school, because his feeds are mostly about his gameplay, but every so often he'll break the barrier and talk about a problem or something he's having at school or whatnot. And so I would be this cuddling grandfather coming, and it's like, it's okay, Chuck. No, you can do it. And kind of needling him as well, if he's complaining about not wanting to do homework, hey, homework police, go do it. And he'll retweet it right away, and then his 13, 14-year-old followers are like, oh my God, your school's talking to you, Chuck. And they don't grasp the concept that there's a human behind these accounts. And so it's really cool to see, so he'll retweet whatever I say to him, but then his followers who are over in Albuquerque and Boston, they're seeing this UW-Madison probably for the first time, and they're seeing this account, and they're like, dude, this is a fun account. I want to go there. And so I've gotten messages on Facebook, on our institutional Facebook account, hey, I learned about you from Chuck, and can you send me some admissions materials? Wow. So identifying key players, I would say, is a huge, huge opportunity for your brands to be able to grow. And so we had a ton of fun with Chuck. I'm sad that he graduated, moved to Colorado, but I'm sure we'll still have some fun with him, because I built that relationship with him on Twitter, and now that he's probably got close to 1 million followers on YouTube by now. Now that we have that affinity built up, I'll be able to keep reaching out to him and him reaching out to me and keep building that up. And I hope that someday, he'll maybe donate back to the university. I think of sales, I guess, in those two different ways. First, I'm fighting over these prospective students. Please come to our school. It's awesome. You're going to have a great time. Don't go to Michigan, please. They're the Lannisters, I got to tell you. Yeah, so I'm fighting over prospective students. That's one sale if I get them. But then it's also a lot further down the line. I want to build a relationship with you. I want to be able to, talk about nostalgia with you way long after you've graduated. That's one fun thing. So the whole thing about Facebook is for older people and grandmas. Like, all right, teens are still on Facebook, trust me. But we have found out that our alumni base is a lot more involved on Facebook than they are the other channels, and so we'll post a lot more nostalgic posts on it. And I love the stories that come in talking about oh yeah, I remember that shop on State Street back in the 60s, and it's awesome. So you have these current students looking at the page like, dude, I didn't know there was a shop there. Or how the Starbucks on State used to be a Wendy's. Who knew? But you have all these alumni making, commenting on these nostalgic posts, and you're bridging a gap between these generations of Badgers. And so I love seeing that happen. And again, it's all about building that affinity and pride. Now, speaking of building pride, this was probably the best use of Tweetdeck I've ever had. So I have one search column going for University of Wisconsin. Straight up, no hashtag, no mention, anything. But Kelsey Finger decided to tweet, "Dear Google, I feel like you know better than to advertise anything University of Wisconsin to me. Love, a loud and proud Minnesota alumni." Now, I got to give her credit. Way to go. You like Goldie Gopher? Not me. Ugh, sorry. But you know what? Hey, you have affinity for your institution. That's great. That's what I like to see. However, do you notice anything in there that isn't quite kosher? Yeah. On Wisconsin. Now you see here though, okay, now that I have a soapbox, I have to talk about this. It's just at Kelsey Finger alumna, awesome. But there is no period before the @ sign. So if you don't know about this, please listen up. If you don't take anything else away from this talk, this is what you need to know. All right, if you're sending an outbound tweet and you're starting it by mentioning someone, saying oh, hey, at Weisman Center has great research going on, yada, yada, they do. But you want to, so if you start it with at Weisman Center and then your tweet, it'll only be visible in the news feeds by those who follow both Weisman Center and UW-Madison. It won't be visible to all your followers. So what you need to, because Twitter treats that as a public reply. They think that I'm replying back to Weisman Center of something earlier that they said, because as you look here, I responded to Kelsey, and it, of course, started with her mention. So it's just this little funny coding anomaly that Twitter has, is that if you don't put a period before, right there. If you don't put a period before a handle, if you're starting the tweet off with it, it won't be visible to all your followers. So please know that. If you want to reach more people and it's a public post, put a period before that mention. Thank you. All right.